Welcome back to the Burlesque Bulletin podcast. I'm your host, Honey Holloway, and I'm here with Eddie Ecstasy. He's a Brisbane-based burlesque beginner, independent producer, theatre, and director. Hi, Eddie. How are you?
I'm very good. Yourself?
That's good. I'm pretty good. Yes, it's a bit hot today, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So before we start, I don't know if you know this about me, but I did have a astrology podcast before this one, and I was dabbled in astrology. So I love to ask people if they know their zodiac sign.
I actually do, yes. I'm a Taurus.
Oh my God. That's so funny. I'm also a Taurus.
Amazing. And
we just had Talia Novella in. She's also a Taurus.
I'm detecting a theme here.
Yes, it's the Taurus vibes today. I love that. I love that. Do you know your moon or rising potentially?
Absolutely not.
That's fine. I didn't expect it, but I would have been surprised, but I didn't expect it. So
well, there was like a period of time where I was trying to get into it, but I was just like, this is too many things to pay attention to.
It's a lot of work. Once you get into it, you realize how much work and how vast it is, and it's very complicated, but but it's a bit of fun anyway. So.
Oh yeah, and like. You know, as long as you're not taking it too seriously.
Exactly. As long as you're not running your life by it, you know, you should be fine. But yeah, I just like to know, because then I have a bit of a vibe of how maybe the conversation's going to go or how we're going to vibe. So I just like to know, to have that bit of backstory, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
So can we talk about how you, I guess, got into burlesque, got into the arts, got into theatre? Let's start way back when you were young, or when it started for you, when you started sort of liking those things, or how it came about.
So I first really got into arts and especially theatre in high school, because I studied film, TV, and drama. Then went to uni at QT, did a 3-year course in drama, and as I was doing it, initially I'd wanted to do straight acting, but I actually think I benefited more from doing a drama degree, because I learned a lot more about what sort of goes into it, as opposed to just read lines, look good. It was sort of the joke in the drama courses. We'd refer to the acting course as the Home and Away Academy.
Nice.
And sort of once I graduated uni, it was very much just sort of trying to find my place anywhere, really. Like I'd done a few community theatre shows, like the Arts Theatre. I did one at a theatre in New Farm, and it was just sort of trying to get anywhere with it, which is anyone who's sort of an aspiring actor, or like an actor trying to get anywhere, you know how hard it is, especially in Brisbane. And I was always sort of into writing as well, so I figured, you know, if I can't get anywhere acting, I can always use writing as a foot in the door. With burlesque, there was a bit of a longer story with it. I was doing work for this one company, and the first show I'd written for them, we were set to open right before COVID shut everything down. I think it was like literally 2 days before our first big show, and it was going to be a big one, and it like sold out. Everything got shut down. The head producer of the company had tried to basically kill the show off and write it off, and it was like, no, we can still do it. COVID's not going to be around forever. Managed to get, I think, about 3 or 4 shows out of it, and at the same time, the producer had sort of said, you know, I want to do like a burlesque style show for Christmas, and asked if I'd be interested in writing that. I am not a Christmas fan.
Me neither, secretly. Don't tell anyone.
Yes. On Saturday, definitely was holding in resentment to hearing Mariah Carey while I was on stage. And I sort of thought, because as well, coming from musicals and theatre, I was like, okay, what about a musical-themed burlesque show? Which was... You know, if you know a bunch of musical theatre songs, they work great for routines, and that it's just a treasure trove of an untapped resource. So I wrote it, had it sort of set, and pretty much from the beginning of it, I was sort of looking at burlesque to actually work out, okay, what am I actually getting myself into? Because before then, I sort of knew what it was, but I didn't really know a lot about what it involved. And I was sort of writing the script to tailor it a bit to what I was sort of learning by watching it. When it got time to actually doing it and rehearsing it, it was a bit of a mess, to put it very kindly. I remember there was one rehearsal, one of the choreographers was blocking out a number, and nothing. It looks good. And I'm sort of asking the choreographer, okay, at what point do they start taking clothes off? And the choreographer just looks at me with this blank stare and just like, they're supposed to take clothes off? It's like, yes.
He must have seen the Burlesque movie and was confused.
Honestly, that's as good a theory as any. But basically throughout this entire production, there was just a lot of behind-the-scenes drama. It eventually happened that the actor we had as the host of it pulled out because he had a family emergency and he couldn't commit to it. So I stepped in to do it. So as well as writing it, co-directing it, and performing in it, as well as co-producing it. Then fast forward to 11 days before it is supposed to open, I get kicked off the production.
Oh no,
yeah.
the tea.
Well, the truth be told, I don't actually know fully what happened.
Gosh.
Basically, like the Sunday rehearsal beforehand, everything's fine. Like rehearsal happens, great, everything's looking good. Monday, one of the choreographers sends me a message, hey, can I get the logins to the social media? It's like, why would you need that? Then Tuesday, I get a video call in the morning saying, the team's made a decision, you're no longer a part of this production.
Oh no.
If I knew then what I know now, I would have said, fine, I'll take my work with me, and if you put it on, you're plagiarizing whatever I do. But I was just like, I couldn't do anything. And yeah, it was a miserable, I wasn't even allowed to go to the show's after party. And I was like, I want to, break bread, make nice.
Yeah.
At least we put on a good show. But it was just, was not allowed to go to that, was not allowed to do anything. And it made me miserable. But I was like, I'm not going to let this kill me.
You put so much time and effort into everything as well.
Literally, I think it was a year from when I first started writing it to when it was put on. I was like, this is a year that I've taken to make this, and then it's gone like that. So I started writing, a few more shows, and there was one idea originally I'd had when I was writing the first burlesque one for musical theater. I was like, it's a good enough idea where I can kind of span it off into different things. And one of the ideas I had was horror, because massive horror fan. I figured, okay, this would be kind of cool if you get a bit more punky with it, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, all that sort of stuff. And when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this myself. You guys obviously don't want me, so I'm going to do it myself. And that led to the show I did at the start of this year, which was the Abaddon Burlesque show, My Bloody Valentine.
Okay.
Called that because it was on in February.
Oh, nice.
Because originally the space I wanted to put it on at, I was thinking October, great, horror, Halloween, perfect. Yeah. It got booked out. And there's like, the next available date we have is February. I was like,
make it work. Make it work.
And in between then, it was in a community production of The Full Monty, which I didn't know until after I got cast. We went the Full Monty.
Really?
Yes, on stage in front of, I think, 9 sold-out crowds.
Like full?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what had happened was we did the routine, and what I was thinking was going to happen was we were going to have like dance belts, so we're going to cheat it a bit.
Oh yeah.
And the director's like, nope. So we turn around, and as we turn around, there's bright lights flashing out into the crowd, so they shouldn't see anything. However, we were told after the first show, apparently the lights were about a split second too late.
Oh no.
Like, oh god.
I'd be sweating if I was that lights person, like ready to.
Oh, you would have so many people wanting to kill you if you got it wrong.
God. Yeah, literally.
And yeah, sort of after that show at the start of the year wrapped, I was like, okay, I'm learning a bit more about this. I'm sort of liking what I'm doing, so give it a try. It took me a while to actually get around to do it because I was trying to get sort of money to be able to do it and not bankrupt myself.
Yep.
And I think it was not this term previously, but the last term before it at the Bombshell Burlesque Academy, I signed up for a beginner neo class with Lenore Noir, who is my saving grace. Lenore, love you to death. And I just enjoyed the hell out of it. It was probably one of the most reinvigorating things I've ever done on stage, doing that first time. Yeah.
I love that. So when did you come up with the name Eddie Ecstasy?
So Eddie was one I'd always sort of had in mind for a stage name because it has, to me, it sort of has the double thing of like, it's kind of cheekily charming, but there's also a bit of sleaze to it. Because if you, for me, when I hear the name Eddie, I sort of associate it with like, Las Vegas and that sort of thing. And originally my idea was going to be call it Evil Eddie because there's this really great Swedish horror movie from the 90s called Evil Eddie, called Evil Ed. And I was like, that would be cool. But I thought a bit more about it. I was like, if I do that, it's going to limit me a lot into, what people will sort of say, oh, he's going to do this, and this is what his vibe is. So where Ecstasy came from was, weirdly enough, from watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Because there's the scene at the end where he goes into the graveyard and this piece of music plays, and it's called Ecstasy of Gold. And it's this really great piece, but as soon as I was listening to it on Spotify again because I just love Ennio Morricone's scores so much, and it's just sort of like ecstasy. That sounds really good. Like Eddie Ecstasy. It still has that sort of and it has that sort of added glamour to it that it's not sort of like, it sounds cool but not trying too hard to be cool.
Yeah, for sure. So how many classes have you done at Bombshells so far?
So far, I have done 2, and I've signed up for one at the start of next year with Magnolia Knife. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And are you hoping to do some solos maybe eventually, or what are your goals and dreams for Eddie Ecstasy?
I do hope to get to the point of being able to do solos. I think for me, a lot of it is just going to be mostly confidence in myself and being able to do it. I've had a few ideas for ones I could do. It's just sort of a case of trying to plot it out and being confident enough in a dancer to pull it off. And yeah, sort of like being able to have that going forward, knowing I can do this, knowing I now have a skill that I can do and can perform with, and sort of see where that takes me, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, you probably agree that Bombshells is such an amazing like place where you feel really welcome, and like there's so many different workshops, and like any people are lovely and you can talk to them about anything and like pick their brain, and they're usually happy to give you the tips or whatever. So
well, that was what really took me by surprise when I came to my first class, because I was fully expecting to be just completely thrown to the wolves almost, but within I think about 5 minutes, I felt welcomed. I felt happy and like I sort of belonged there. And after, when I was sort of asking Lenore about like costume tips, she gave me a trove of things to look at. She was like, look at this, and this, try and avoid this. And even at this term, at the start of it, because the whole idea of the routine for this term was e-girls. I'd never known what an e-girl actually was until I did it. I was like, okay, sure. And she even said to me, like, we can modify something so it fits more like an e-boy. I was like, nope, I'm committed.
Are you a millennial?
Not quite. I'm Gen Z, so 1997.
I feel like millennials really like know the term, but
Well, I'd heard the term, but I didn't really. I just never knew what it was. Yeah. Because like a lot of people say, oh, it's like a gamer. I was like, okay, but what is it? So much more. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird.
So what's been some of your favorite burlesque moments so far?
It's definitely the first time I performed is up there. The first time it was to Discipline by Nine Inch Nails, and it was really great having that sort of crowd energy. And it goes back to theater of like, if you have a great crowd, you're always going to have the energy right up. And that was exactly the same for when I did the Discipline routine. It was fantastic. Honestly, I'd say another really big moment was probably the first actual live performance of it I saw. It was at the Triffid. I want to say it was about 3 years ago, and it was the first performance I ever saw was a double act. I can't remember who the second one was, but the first one was Phoenix Night, and it was to Criminal, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen.
Phoenix is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he even at the first ball I performed at, he came up to me while I was sort of waiting. I was like, oh, this is your first time? I was like, yeah. I was like, you're going to do fine. And after I come up, he was the first person to come to me, you did great. I was like,
that's so sweet.
It was so nice. And I don't know why. This will sound really weird. I wasn't used to a lot of people coming up to me and congratulating me after performing, so it was very surreal for me.
Yeah.
In that first ball, because I had about 5 or 6 people come and just like, you did so good.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, that's like some validation. You're just like,
it is.
Yes, I wasn't shit. Because that's just what you think like all the time, and then you like do it, and you're like, I don't actually know what happened in those 5 minutes. Like,
and like especially doing it in heels, because I was fully expecting as soon as I got my first pair of heels, they were 3-inch really nice ones from Shoe Me. I was like, I'm gonna break my ankle in these things. I know it's gonna happen. But I don't know when, and I didn't. I was like, oh, thank God.
That is the real, like, victory if you don't fall over.
Well, next time I go from 3 inches to 5 inches, so that's going to be, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So, obviously, you've had some experience with acting and everything on the stage. How do you feel that was different with, obviously, you said you hadn't really done much dance before. How do you feel that was different with acting and sort of dancing in burlesque? Is there anything that...
Well, I think acting it doesn't really factor too much into it outside of, I guess, facial language and body language, which definitely helps, and it becomes instinctual the more you sort of get used to it a bit. Like the discipline routine, that was one in particular where it's like from, I think, the second class onwards, I knew exactly what my vibe was going to be, what my face was going to be. I know. Like, it felt right, and... having Lenore shout in the class, yes, yes.
She's the #1 fan.
Oh, that's great. Oh, she's such an amazing tutor.
Yeah.
But yeah, like outside of it, because again, most of my dancing, I think outside of doing like school, like Dance Fever and that sort of thing, I never really had dancing training. And like even in musicals, a lot of the dancing you're doing, it's not like full on dancing. It's sort of like doing things. I think the most heavy dance show I ever did was Cats, which if you're very out of shape and not a dancer, would not recommend doing Cats.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But I'd say it's probably, I'm more suited to doing like a burlesque style because it's not heavy on, I guess, dancing as it is, because it's not, you don't have to have like 5 years of ballet, 5 years of tap to do it. You can, like a lot of people I've talked to in class, they don't have any dance experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So what's a random fact about you that maybe people don't know?
That is a very good question. I guess probably just a random fact about... Oh, you put me on the spot now.
Sorry. It's a hard question. You think it's going to be easy, but it's a hard question.
Yeah, I'm just like, do I do something cool or do I do something not cool? Okay, so me being actor, I've been on set a few times. Probably the best time I've had on set was I did 2 days on the set of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis movie.
That's so cool.
Oh,
I know a few people who were like extras and stuff.
Yeah, a good like a friend of mine. She was in a crowd scene. Her face is on screen for it for a few seconds.
Is it Lulu Fontana?
No, it isn't. Peggy Bright.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But she...
so jealous.
Well, what happened on set was like we drove out to basically the middle of nowhere in Pimpama. It was they had this whole carnival set up. It was really cool. I want to say it's at the start of the movie, but there was this big Ferris wheel and they had this whole thing set up. And I was on this Ferris wheel. Once I was on there, I was not getting off for the entire night. So there was probably about, I want to say it was 12 hours each night on this Ferris wheel, and mostly at the top where the wind was blowing, and it was freezing cold.
Oh my God.
And because I didn't wear a jacket on the first night, I couldn't wear a jacket on the Ferris wheel on the second. So I was like, this is freezing. I never want to set foot on another Ferris wheel as long as I live.
That sounds like my nightmare. I honestly hate Ferris wheels.
It was not pleasant, but what made it really cool was like with a lot of the times I've been on set, usually it's been, second unit, so there's none of the big actors on it, or they're just sort of doing their own thing while you're doing your setup. We were on set, and first thing I looked at was like, oh, that guy looks kind of familiar. Richard Roxburgh.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, that guy looks kind of cool. Austin Butler.
No.
And who's
amazing.
that? I was like, who's that fat guy in that? Oh my God, that's Tom Hanks. And
wow.
there were sort of two things. Like the first one was Tom Hanks came up to the Ferris wheel as we were going out and was like counting us off. And I was like, oh my God, that's Tom Hanks. And then on the second night, we were at the bottom and Baz Luhrmann himself walks up to us. He was like, hi guys. Hi. Would you guys mind just sort of ducking out just while we get the shot? I was like, yeah, you can tell me to do anything.
I would die. I would just die.
Well, on set with him, it was really cool because he reminded me so much of a lot of student filmmakers I've worked with. Like, he wasn't strict. He didn't have any sort of... He wasn't yelling at anyone. Basically, he was just like, okay, guys, for, like, the crowd. He's like, you guys act like you're grade 9 class going out for handball. Like, that sort of energy. I was like, great, I can do that.
That is so cool.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Oh, my God. Do you have any other stories like that, maybe on set of other movies or...
So I've got two. So there was one for Thor Ragnarok.
Cool.
I did 2 days shooting for that. The second day was miserable because it was like middle of October heat wave.
Oh God.
I was wearing like 3 layers of wool and we got very little breaks and we were there from I think about 3 in the morning until 5 at night. And the DP, the guy who was sort of setting up the shots, and the second unit director, he was like, okay guys, we just want to stay there for one more thing while we get the shot, and all of a sudden just get us off set. But the first one I saw Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston,
Wow.
so I was like, yeah, that's cool.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, so good. The other one, it was a Vietnam movie called Danger Close, and this one was shot out in Narang. And it was really cool having the sort of looking like a soldier and everything, but what made it really good was when it came out, I saw it with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And my father is someone who, in his own way, is very encouraging with acting and stuff. But this was the first time I'd ever properly gone to see a movie with just him. Mm-hmm. What I didn't know was in the movie, there's 3 shots where it's very clearly me on screen, and I'm like in focus, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like I'm not like a listed actor or anything. It's like it's very much extra.
So
but
you didn't get the credit.
I didn't get the credit, but it was
Credits.
still really cool having that moment of
amazing.
being like, that's me on screen in a
You can
movie.
actually see me. It's not like one like hair up in the corner or something.
Yeah,
My foot.
Well, that was what I was that was what I was thinking of doing when Thor came out. I was like, dress up in a suit, sunglasses, pre-signed autographs. Like, yeah, I know. Background extra number 5. You know, no big deal.
That's amazing. So if you could share a dressing room with someone, so whether it be in acting in general, actors or producers or anything like that, or burlesque, if you have any favorites, who would it be?
So this is very much an acting one, Nicolas Cage. I am a huge Nick Cage fan.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that would be an interesting conversation to just chill and chat.
Yeah. By all accounts, he's just the coolest guy in the world, and I would really love to even just meet him. I don't really have anyone from... I think partly from me being like male and obviously me being a beginner, I don't really have anyone I'd want to share a dressing room yet with for burlesque because, technically I already do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anyone from burlesque that I'd probably share a dressing room with, I guess.
A quick thanks to Cam Attree for sponsoring the Burlesque Bulletin and for all his hard work behind the scenes, filming and editing the podcast. Cam has been involved in the burlesque industry for over 12 years through his photography and videography. If you are a performer looking to get promo photos and video, or a producer looking to get your show photographed or filmed, please contact Cam through his website, camattree.photography, or find him on Instagram at camattree.photo-video. And now back to the episode. So if you could tell your younger self something about maybe your life or some advice that you would give, whether that's like performing tips or anything like that, or just something that maybe your younger self would like to know, is there anything that comes to mind?
Biggest thing I'd probably say is trust yourself. A lot of the times where I've sort of fallen down personally has been when I just didn't have faith in what I was doing, didn't have the confidence to do it, and if I could look back at that kid, I would just say, trust yourself, because you're good at what you do, and you're going to do great. Just, don't hesitate, don't think about it too much, just do it.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
So what are you excited for with your future in burlesque or in production or anything like that?
So I'm excited for a few things. So I've got a few shows I'm producing and directing lined up for next year. which I'm really excited about, especially in October, because I'm finally getting to do a horror burlesque show in October, and I'm really
actual Halloween. Yay.
Oh, it's well even better. The venue is letting us open on Halloween, so I'm just like,
wow,
yes,
that's amazing.
And it's it's great for me because I'm just sort of saying, I'm here now and I can do this, and it being a continuation, because the first one, whilst we had the unfortunate timing of the first one that we opened on the same night as about 3 other shows, so basically
that's hard.
No one came to see it, and I was really bummed. I think literally there was a Sunday show. I was waiting around and I saw a group of women walking towards me with baseball bats. I was like, out of curiosity, I asked, "What's with the baseball bats?" And they were rehearsing for the Bombshell Ball, which was the next week.
Yeah.
And I just sort of offhandedly said, "Oh, if you guys aren't doing anything later, we could use people coming in. Happy for you guys to come see the show for free. Buy a drink, that's about it." Mm-hmm. And they did. They loved it. Amazing. And a few of them actually advertised for us and shared stuff. And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And yeah, it was really cool for that. And sort of having now the validation of, I have a second one. It's going to be cool. I know more about what I'm doing this time as a director and a writer. It's exciting because I'm just like, great, I know I can do this and I know I can do it really well. And having sort of more experience doing burlesque stuff, it also makes it easier for me to be able to communicate it with actors who aren't used to doing a burlesque style, because I know there was a lot in the first one who just didn't get it.
For sure.
Yeah.
With you doing more and more productions and everything like that, what have you sort of learnt from like trial and error?
I think a lot of it comes down to really timing for me, because especially for My Bloody Valentine, that was rehearsing for I think about 19 weeks, which even if it's obviously I know like burlesque classes are learning in 6 weeks, but for theater production I sort of overestimated how much time I would need. So 19 weeks is a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm. What's the normal?
Normal is about 13, which I think is what I've got it for the next one. I've got 13 weeks planned out. And it's sort of 13 weeks with 3 rehearsals a week is like enough time to sort of get a solid foundation of it and not sort of overwork a cast. Mm-hmm. Definitely communicating with performers as well and sort of saying, this is what I need you to do, and not sort of going too far into it of like, you need to research this, you need to look at this, you need to understand this, and this. There's one character, and I'm really excited to put it on stage for the one in October next year, that was in the original My Bloody Valentine. It's a snake woman. And the idea of it was she was supposed to be the serpent from the Garden of Eden, literally made into a woman. And I had to explain to this person, okay, I want you to move like this in sort of like constant motion. And she was like, okay, so you want me moving around? I was like, no, very subtle. And she wouldn't do it. And it was just like, no.
It's hard to communicate what you actually want.
It's very hard. And especially like the vampire guy I mentioned before, I'm just like, some people just don't get it. You can try explain to them as many times as you can, but that doesn't mean they're going to understand it.
Yeah. I guess sometimes you got to kind of show them, or like have a visual rather than...
Yeah. And especially with sort of burlesque stuff, if I'm having someone move in a specific way, that definitely helps, especially because if you have... One thing I learned with dancers, they are very sure in how they're going to do something. And it's very, not specifically, not burlesque performers at all, but like just straight dancers. They're very stubborn in how they're going to do something, because they always want something to look very nice and very sleek. But if you're doing something where the character's, a psychotic clown with a meat cleaver,
it's not going to be graceful or anything.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
It's not going to be graceful.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you're excited for in the future with your burlesque journey and with production and stuff?
With burlesque, probably just getting more confident with it and getting sort of more experience with it, learning a lot more, and getting, especially for me, confidence with it. Because obviously I'm a larger person, so it's not really, nothing looks graceful with me moving, but sort of getting the confidence to do it and not have that sort of factor in of like, okay, I think I look overweight, I think I don't look graceful, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think that's one of the main things that I love about burlesque is it truly is for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter your size, your color, race, anything. Like, it's, one of my favorite things about it is it's just self-expression. You can decide how you want to move your body, and it's just, And you're sexy and beautiful no matter what you look like, so... So, talk to me about Abandoned Productions and the event that's happening.
So, firstly, to correct, it's not throwing you under the bus for this one. So it's Abaddon Productions.
Oh shoot! Sorry.
No need to apologize.
Abaddon Productions.
Yes. So, surprisingly, a lot of people don't. Even reviewers we've had who had the program know how it's spelled.
Oh no!
Have still spelt it Abandoned.
Oh no! Maybe it's my dyslexia. I've like swapped around some things, some words, some letters.
So, the name Abaddon actually comes from, of all things, a wrestler called Abaddon, and their whole thing is like they're like a zombie, and they're really cool. And I thought it was like, okay, that's kind of cool, and the name sort of works well. Basically the production starting at the start of the year next year is a competition, a burlesque competition. Basically, it is the Burlesque Open. Mm-hmm. Essentially, performers are given 6 weeks to craft an original solo that is decided by a fan vote on the night of performance. They can do anything they want with the music they're given, and the prize is $500 in cash. The only catch is they are not given the song until exactly 6 weeks beforehand.
Oh, God. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
So how I'm just trying to think of how that's like gonna work. Have you done anything like that before?
So not quite. There's in theater there's the 48-hour musical challenge where basically it's all for charity. They have to basically stage, rehearse, and put on an entire musical production in 48 hours.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like kind of like improv. You know, you just is that
you feel how it is and sort of what goes. It's not going, obviously with 6 weeks, it's not going to be the most polished thing in the world. Yeah. And but
at least you have that time as well.
Yeah. You have that time, and it's basically just experimentation. So if you're given even with a randomly selected song, if it's not something you've ever heard, you listen to it and you get sort of an idea of what it is, and you get an understanding. Maybe it gives you inspiration for something you can develop further, which is something that I do feel is very good about it. Is sort of, it may not be the greatest thing in the world when you first do it, but it gives you that step to actually make it into something that is really great.
Totally. And it just like pushes you out of your comfort zone as well and makes you a better performer.
Exactly.
Sort of think on your feet and like...
Well, it's something George Lucas said was like, the limitations are the greatest thing creatives can ever have. Obviously paraphrasing a bit for that, but if you're given 6 weeks to put on a production, never say, no, it can't be done. Say, no problem, I can do it. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's a good period of time as well, because it sort of doesn't give you much time to overthink.
No.
And you just have to be like, all right, let's get this shit done.
Well, because I've spoken to a few people as well at balls about just sort of like, how did you come up with the solo? And they've said, oh, we had this idea and we sort of brainstormed. And I was like, oh, cool. How long were we brainstorming? Oh, about, 20 weeks. And I was like, good God. And I get that. It's sort of, you have that time to sort of fine tune it a lot. And it's one of the best things about Bombshell specifically with that 6 weeks courses is if you have a solo idea, it doesn't need to be in that 6 weeks. You can have that solo idea for a long time. But that 6 weeks is when you're sort of fine-tuning it. This one, it's just sort of saying, it's putting it basically together. Like, you think on your feet. Mm-hmm. And it's been, even with sort of producing stuff, he's like, a lot of it I'm learning as I go. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like 6 weeks, it's doable. It's not exactly the most amount of time in the world, but it's doable.
Yeah, definitely. So with your, being a producer and everything, what are some of the things that you love and some of the things that you hate about the role?
So I definitely love the fulfillment of putting it all together. It's very fulfilling to see the end product. Sitting in the crowd, watching it, having people applaud it. It is a very enriching feeling, having that sensation, and sort of working with people, and if they're receptive to what you're telling them to do, and wanting them to work, and them wanting to work with you again, it feels very good having that feeling of it. And making friends as well definitely helps as well. On the flip side of that, it is very stressful, especially when you're independent, because you have no lifeline whatsoever. Because especially with all of my stuff, I fund a lot of it myself. I don't get grants or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's very do what you can. Do it yourself, DIY very much. So even if something is thrown together like a costume, it gives freedom for actors to do it. But like I said before, if you give actors too much freedom, they can kind of take it away from you. And it's very stressful when you're juggling, 4 different jobs: writing, directing, producing, marketing as well. It's very hard to keep a cool head. And it's one of the things I was very proud of myself in My Bloody Valentine, was I only really yelled at the cast twice. And it was
That's pretty good.
It is, and especially if it's only during Tech Week, which is always anyone who has ever been in any production ever, that Tech Week is the nightmare of a time, and just no one is having a good time during Tech Week.
Very stressful. Got to get all the kinks out.
Yeah. And when you're sort of trying to talk to your lighting guy about, okay, I want this, and you have 5 different conversations all happening at you at the same time, you're just like, just shut up. Just shut up.
So we've talked about some good and bad moments. What are some green and red flags when it comes to performers, whether it be like actors or dancers?
Definitely, I say green flags is if they're sort of open, if they're taking notes and they're open to what you're doing, and if they're willing to sort of discuss with you things. Like if they're asking questions, I guess the right sort of questions, then it definitely helps. Green flags, it gets just sort of if they're getting along with everyone else in the group, in the cast, in classes. Bombshell, I don't think I've seen a single red flag my entire time there, so that's been one of the really great things. And just sort of how they treat each other and how they're sort of treating the work they're doing. Like you can tell who's not really taking it seriously and who's sort of actually there to do a good job. Red flags, definitely arrogance is probably the biggest red flag you can ever see, because you can just tell. There was one we'd cast her, and she'd sort of said, there's this period I'm unavailable for. And then we cast her, we have a first rehearsal, and it's like, okay, there's this other period of time I'm unavailable for. And we did the math, it was about 6 weeks, which is not good, because we'd had her penciled in for a number of the routines. And it was like, okay, so you've just told us that you can't be here for basically 6 weeks of this entire period.
How long was the period?
Oh, so this was the 19 weeks, but it's sort of like, it's still not good if you're not there for 6 weeks of it, and you told us about 3 of it after you'd been cast.
Yeah.
And then she kept going, oh, I live down the Gold Coast, so it's kind of a hassle for me to drive up and down again. Any chance you can get me into as little rehearsals as possible? And it was like, okay.
You should just go to the understudy, like the next, if you can't get there.
The thing as well was like we had 2 other cast members who were coming from the Gold Coast, and they're like, yeah, no, that's fine. And then she eventually pulled out after saying, I can't come back and back up again. And this was after about 4 weeks. She'd been to rehearsals twice. And we were like, it sucks, but she pulled out. We can't really do anything about it. Find out about 3 weeks later, she's been cast in a show down the Gold Coast. And it's like, great.
Cool.
Thanks for that.
Cool. No.
Yeah, and also just generally conduct in rehearsals as well. Like you can tell, it was always drilled into me, especially in high school, if you're there on time, you're 15 minutes late. And I've had people in shows who either didn't bother to turn up and gave a really bad excuse. They said, oh, my alarm didn't go off. and just like, oh, I forgot to tell you I was doing this. I was like, yes, you did forget to tell me, but that's not good enough.
Oh, the stress. I would just be instantly stressed.
Especially when it's just a big show for you and you have a lot riding on. It's just like, you want everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the second something doesn't go wrong, everything just falls apart for you, and you have to basically rebuild on the go. And it's really...
Well, it's like one puzzle piece is gone, or like the Tetris, like one piece is gone and you've effed.
Literally. And you can tell on stage watching who's sort of really giving it and who isn't. Even when it's on like the final point of on stage in front of a crowd, you can tell when one thing is not like the other. Like when you have... I think we had sort of 14 cast members who are all really going for it, really committing to it, and then there's one who's just sort of treating it kind of lazy. It's really hard to kind of think that the entire thing's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know, like, I don't know, like, is there a lack of passion there, or like why would you do it if you're just not going to put 100% into it? Well, I mean, that's my opinion, I guess.
For me, part of it as well is I've made it a point with every production I ever do, obviously not counting the Burlesque one because that one's a competition, everyone who works for me gets paid. It doesn't matter if it's $20, doesn't matter if it's $200, everyone gets something. So it's not hard to think a lot of people are just doing this because they think easy money.
Yeah, that's definitely not it.
Yeah, and like they're just like, get to rehearsal and then find out how easy it is. And like it does create a good atmosphere with people where they're wanting to do good work because they want to obviously earn the money. But at the same time, if you're thinking, great, it's easy, $200, you're not going to put in the best effort. Which does suck, but it comes with the territory ultimately.
Yeah. Kind of lets everyone else down as well because it's like everyone's putting in their 10% or whatever. It's a part of a team, even though half the team you don't see, but...
Yeah, exactly.
It's so important. So, we're going to play a little game called This or That. It's a little rapid fire round. So, basically, just choose which one you like better, this or that. Self-explanatory.
Just having flashbacks to there was an Eric Andre skit with this exact thing.
Oh, really?
Yes. Oh, it's so funny.
I'll have to check that out later. Okay, so. All right. Rhinestones or feathers?
Feathers.
C-string or G-string?
Definitely G-string. That's probably what I've worn. I've worn G-strings before. At least they're a known quantity to me.
Neo-burlesque or classic burlesque?
Neo, definitely.
Boa or feather fans?
That was a tough one. Probably boa.
Have you done an act with boa before?
I've done like theater shows with a boa before.
Oh, yeah.
So like I've worn them before. Fans, I haven't worked. I would like to work with fans at some point, but they are very daunting to look at.
Yeah, they look easy, but they're so complicated.
Oh yeah.
Lace or leather?
Ooh. Gonna say leather.
Tassels or assels?
Tassels.
Tassels. Drag or burlesque?
Ooh, I'd probably burlesque. I like drag, and I've seen a lot of really good drag shows, but for me, I prefer watching burlesque. It's just more entertaining for me.
Stocking peels or stripper heels?
Ooh, gonna say stocking peels.
Stocking peels?
Yeah.
A big stage show or an intimate bar show?
That one's a tough one because I've done both. I'd probably say the big stage show. In intimate bar shows, they are good, but you really need to pick the right venue for it because they can backfire in a big way.
Definitely. Sometimes it's hard to see, and you know.
Well, I had there was one show it was one I wrote where we were putting it on at this restaurant. The producer said, I got this restaurant, we can do a quick, easy show, and it was a laneway, so there was like two sides of two different dining rooms. We were thinking, great, we're going to be performing in this laneway. Great. Instead, we were performing in this smaller side dining room that was fully crowded with big tables. Like there was no performance area whatsoever, and the staff are running orders whilst we're performing. And it's like, this is
What?
Horrible. And like the owners as well, they were just like, oh, no, we're running our business. Like, no, you guys are here as guests. We're running our business. Like, we were told you would be hospitable. And it's like, oh for God's sakes.
Oh, no.
So bad.
Cabaret or comedy?
Comedy.
White wine or red wine?
Ooh. It depends what I'm having it with. If it's like around Christmas, if there's like a really good steak, red wine.
Yep.
White wine, I think, is probably more for me, just sort of a casual dining thing. If I don't really care what I'm having it with, white wine. If I'm looking for a specific taste, red.
I feel like that's a really Taurus answer. Like, it depends on the food or it depends on the vibes.
Well, it does, but at the same time, it is very much like it makes sense to do. Like
It does.
I'm not a food snob, so I'm not like, oh yes, I need the Chianti. But I'm just like, it makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Cocktails or beer?
Ooh. I'm gonna say beer, but I do love a really good cocktail.
Okay. Do you have a favorite cocktail?
I do, and old-fashioned.
Nice.
I love whiskey.
Yes, me too. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the Burlesque Bulletin podcast. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So do you have anything else coming up next year other than the show?
So I do. So there's Burlesque, which is happening in February. There's the Abaddon Burlesque show, Dance of the Dead, which is going to be my show in October. In between that, I'm me and my co-director are putting together a diva-themed burlesque one. So it's looking at pop stars and using pop music of the late 90s, mid 2000s.
Love that.
So a lot of Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, whatever we can find.
I'm definitely coming to that one. And let us know your socials, your Instagram, or where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Eddie Ecstasy. Pretty much just type that in, you'll see the profile come up. Outside of that, just sort of see what I'm looking at. I'm only on Instagram as Eddie. I haven't gotten as far as making Facebook for him yet, but yeah.
That's all right. One step at a time, we'll have the socials all
yes.
added. So thank you so much.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our guest for being on the podcast and letting us take a peek behind the curtain of their lives. Thanks for everyone joining us, and we will see you in our next episode.